Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Footprints. My name is Anthony Davis. I'm an educator at BHS, that's Beverly High School for those folks who don't know. And joining me on today's show is a math whiz, a math teacher extraordinaire from Beverly High School. This is Kayley Meyer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Kayley Meyer to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. Let me tell you a little bit about Kayley, all right? She's a proud BHS alum. She has been inspiring students, of course, in classrooms for the past 8 years. That's pretty cool, 8 years. In addition to her role at BHS, Kayley teaches education courses at Salem State University and is currently pursuing her math specialist degree at Gordon College. How about that? She lives in Beverly with her husband, Matt. She has, what do you got, 2 cats right there?
Yep.
Lily and Cleo?
Yep.
Awesome. And they also have a golden retriever, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Walter is his name. I have a dog myself. Little Shih Tzu. It's pretty cool. She's a passionate traveler, which we're going to talk about. And she has visited 34 countries and counting. This is awesome. I can't wait to talk about this. And so when she's not exploring the world, of course, in these different places, she loves spending time at the beach with her dog, and I'm sure with her husband as well.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to get right into it and ask Kayley right off the bat. Tell me something, Kayley, about yourself that nobody knows. Could be kind of quirky, could be kind of funny.
Okay. My biggest fear in life is chickens. I am so scared of chickens. It's not even funny. Really, I think the whole poultry umbrella.
Okay.
Ducks, geese, but chickens are my number one fear.
Chickens.
As a child, I think me or my sister, one of us got attacked by a geese when we had bread in our hand.
Okay, so there it is.
Yeah, so it's a major source of childhood trauma for me.
I got you. I like chicken, but I don't know if I'm afraid of them or anything like that. You know what I mean? Not like you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can catch us on all the streaming apps, Spotify and Podbean, and also YouTube. Don't forget, if you like our material here and you like what you're hearing, please share that with your friends, family, and neighbors. And wake the kids and tell them, hey, Mr. Davis is on. We need to listen to him. Let's talk a little bit about your teaching and career journey,
Sure.
Which I think is pretty cool. What inspired you basically to return to Beverly High School, basically as a teacher and sort of teach students there? What was the process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually originally didn't go to college for teaching. I went for engineering. And I went through a semester of engineering school, and I realized I loved the math, but I needed a little bit more human interaction. And so I made the switch to applied mathematics. So my degree's not even in education, my undergrad degree.
How about that?
And so I just really love, one of my big passions in life is helping other people. And I feel holding a math degree and just being good with numbers is a really powerful tool for people to have.
Definitely.
In this world. And so I really want to help other people kind of get the opportunities that are out there by being able to work with numbers and be good at math, or just be good at critical thinking in general.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Salem State University. How did that come about?
So when I was pursuing my master's degree at Salem State, my professor there, he ended up actually becoming the department head. And so I was graduating and he said, oh, did you like this course? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay, do you want to teach it next semester? And I was like, why not? I love it. It's truly been something I haven't expected to love so much, but working with practicing and future teachers has been really rewarding.
So that's the little nuggets that you get, right?
Yeah.
In life, it's all of a sudden you turn this over and oh my goodness, I really like this.
Yeah.
Why don't I just go ahead and do it?
Yeah,
you know
just
what I mean?
go for it.
Tell me about your parents a little bit.
Sure.
What type of careers did they have?
So my dad is a physical therapist,
Oh, okay.
And my sister's an occupational therapist. So she kind of followed the path of my dad.
Okay.
And my mom's a teacher.
All
so
right.
I followed that path.
Oh, how about that? Ding, 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 ding.
So she teaches special ed, not math.
Okay.
And she teaches like little kids. But yeah, she's truly like one of the best teachers like I've ever seen. And so I definitely carry that.
Awesome. So that right there, those are the footprints that were left on you early on, right?
Yeah.
Your mother was a teacher and you saw that and you're like, you know what? I aspire to do that thing too.
Yeah.
How about that? I love it. So let's ask this question. How do you sort of balance teaching high school students and, you know, being like a mom, you're not a mom, but you have like sort of like a mom with all your pets. How do you balance that being that home life with like the educational life? How's that really work for you?
Honestly, I'm still working on finding that balance. So if anyone has tips, let me know.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I think just prioritizing really what's important for me, whether it's on a day-to-day basis or just overall, and really knowing that in order for me to do my job well, like I need to be okay and have my cup filled and I need to be well rested.
Yes.
So I'm trying to balance as much as I can.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely a balancing act, believe me. I mean, I know I have 7 children.
Oh, yeah.
But they're all adults now, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting a puppy, which is like another kid, so, you know, there's that. Tell me a little bit about your teaching philosophy, Kayley. How has your teaching philosophy sort of evolved over the 8 years that you've been at BHS?
Yeah, I think originally when I started teaching, it was like get the kids to know as much math as possible. And I think the more I've done it, it's evolved to how can I get the students to think differently? Because, you know, I teach algebra 2 and calculus, and not everybody is going to be using that in their day-to-day basis. But I know every single person is going to leave Beverly High School and need to problem solve, need to think critically and kind of think outside of the box. So that's really what I feel like I'm trying to push my students to do.
Definitely, without a doubt. I think if you're well-rounded and versed as far as critical thinking goes, now you can pretty much solve anything, you know? Although I will say this, my wife is better than with me, like putting together like different things. Like she'll put together like a dresser or something like that, and I'm terrible at that stuff. So, and she's very much better than me as far as critical thinking and that goes. 34 countries and counting.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, 34 countries and counting. All right, so tell us about your last place that you visited.
So last place was April vacation, and
it was Peru.
Yeah, we went to Peru and Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So we went to Medellin, Colombia for 4 days, and Medellin in the 90s was like the most dangerous place in the world.
Oh no.
And they've had like a major, just like complete change, and the culture and the people there are really proud of that.
Okay.
And they hold a lot of just like pride in their culture. And so we spent 4 days there learning about the different, they're called like comunas, and they're little like communities. And so it was really great to get that like cultural perspective. And then we went to Cusco, Peru.
Okay.
And we went to Machu Picchu.
Oh.
And it was like total 180, like super more like nature focused and talking about like the Incas and all the history there.
My goodness.
So it was incredible.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've been nowhere. I gotta be honest. I mean, I went to Florida. My parents live in Florida.
We love Florida, yeah.
But you know, I mean, I have never been any place. You also do something that's very interesting. You go to Africa.
Yeah.
And you teach kids. Tell us how that came about and how long you've been doing that for.
Yeah, so I just came back from my 3rd trip this past year. So I've been doing it for 3 years now. And I actually kind of like fell into the opportunity. My best friend, she knew somebody who runs this program out in South Africa. And so we decided we were going to do it together. And then she ended up having to cancel.
Wow.
And so I decided to still go, and I knew absolutely nobody. I was petrified. I mean, my first year, I literally was in the car crying at the airport, like begging my husband to take me back home, because I just like, it was just so scary to be in this like completely new environment, not knowing what to expect and not knowing a single person.
Wow.
And it truly was like the best thing in the world. So I keep going back, and I'm volunteering in schools.
Wow.
And it's been really nice to see the kids, like the same kids year after year, and working with the same teachers. And so it's truly an amazing experience.
So, I mean, think of the footprints you're leaving on those kids.
Yeah.
Which is really unbelievable to think about. You know, here you are traveling halfway around the world just to be there to help them find their footing and their balance, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to math. And it's such a beautiful thing that you do. It's awesome. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So how have your travels sort of influenced your teaching methods sort of in the classroom and, you know, the perspective you have on that?
I think like my number one favorite thing to do when I travel is to be learning about other people and different ways of life and their perspective. And I think that definitely has come into play into the classroom. I think being able to value people's backgrounds, where they're coming from, what they're bringing into the classroom, has really been a focus for me in this past several years, and really just thinking about other students and kind of like, their backgrounds and their perspective on certain situations. And so it's just kind of getting into someone else's head and someone else's point of view.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part. As educators, you try to influence that, right? That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things we can do as educators is help them navigate that space where sometimes they might be confused, and then now you figure it out, and then it's like, oh, this is what you do. Oh, bang. Light bulb goes on, and I really love those moments.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with our students. So have you encountered any sort of like unique mathematical concepts from different countries or different teaching methods that they might have in your travels?
For sure. I think the U.S. is really different than most other countries in how we learn math and just the setup. And being able to, I actually used to teach in Italy before I started teaching here, and I taught mostly English, but I would sit in math classes because like I can't stay away from math. And it's just interesting, like sometimes like in those classes, like people were not writing down anything. They were like talking through the math. And when I was working in South Africa, like they were super like manipulative heavy. They were counting like beans and creating like drawings in the dirt outside in 90-degree weather. And so I think priorities are different, but I think at the end, like we're all coming to like the same goal of like understanding these concepts, but culturally, like that just looks different.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
No question. Talk about that. I mean, being culturally different, you know, everybody is, but then what's the best part about it is a common bond between learning. And so as you're bringing that to life with these kids, that's the beautiful part of it. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do that in the US, or I didn't know they taught this, or oh wow, you taught that concept to me and now I remember it. And the beautiful part about going back to Africa is now you see the same kids like you said, right? So now you get to see them grow. Right? Intellectually, socially, all of that.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. We love that. Can you share with us a memorable experience from your travels that you had that sort of profoundly impacted you personally and professionally?
I think probably my experience teaching in Italy, that was right off the bat. I graduated from UMass Amherst, and I graduated a semester early. And so it was, the middle of the school year, and schools weren't hiring teachers. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And so I jumped over to Italy, and I think that was like a really just deep experience for me because like I said, like my degree wasn't in education, it was in math, and so I still was kind of teetering that line of like, is education really something I'm meant for? And getting to spend time with the kids over there and really like step out of my comfort zone,
Yes.
I think was really major. And I think it laid the groundwork for a lot of just like my early teaching career when I came back and I started teaching in Salem. A lot of the things that I learned in Italy, like I just brought back.
Yeah. So see, that's the beauty of it too. It's like you can always pack something with you and take with you that you've learned.
Yeah.
And you can open it up, and now I unpack it, and now I'm going to help them learn what I learned in Italy. And to be able to do that is amazing.
Yeah.
So I co-teach a skills and strategies class, and I also co-teach an ELA class with Mrs. Shreya, and it's awesome. And we have a lot of discussions about words and phrasing and different things, and we're reading a book, A Thousand Splendid Suns, shout out to that.
Yes.
But sometimes people have these conversations and they say, well, you don't really understand. And I say, well, wait a minute, maybe I can explain this, right? And then some people say, I already told you. And I say, well, let me explain this another way, right?
Yeah.
And these are certain things and phrases that help conversation kind of like smooth it over a little bit so people understand you a little bit better. And those footprints are really being imprinted on our students as we go through our day. Some people say, oh, you're being too sensitive. Well, you know what I say? Well, this sounds very important to you, so tell me why, right? Always flip it around a little bit and give them a different perspective and how to come at a certain issue or problem, because I think that's what we do as educators anyway.
Yeah.
And everybody has a story to tell, and so we want to be able to tell our story and leave a good footprint on those kids as they go through their journey. Right? And that's the beauty of it. Tell me a little bit about the furry friends you have. Tell me a little bit about Lily and Cleo, right?
Lily and Cleo.
Lily and Cleo. So tell me about Lily and Cleo. How old are they, by the way?
Okay, so Lily just turned 6 and Cleo just turned 4.
Okay.
And I don't really have much of a story for Lily, but we adopted her from the shelter in Salem and we got her right before COVID. So she's my little COVID baby.
Okay.
But my real story is about Cleo. So I got her from the cat distribution system where they picked me. And so, so the weekend that I got married, like 4 years ago, I had a student reach out to me, and she found a bunch of kittens, 3 kittens, living under her shed.
Oh, wow.
And the mother had just got hit by a car, and which I felt so bad. These were like, literally the kittens were only a few weeks old.
Oh, my gosh.
They were super small, and so she said, you know, my mom's going to let me keep one, but we have 2 other kittens. Right. Of course, like she did like the sneakiest move ever by including pictures. And so like I see the pictures and, you know, we're at our wedding venue and me and my husband are trying to set up this arch and the arch is not setting up and the cloth is not looking right and we're sweating. And I'm looking and I'm thinking about this cat and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I keep showing my husband the picture of this cat and he's like, you gotta stop, we're busy. And I'm like, no, but like, I think I want this cat. And he's like, oh, okay. And like, if it was up to him, he would have 50 cats. So the minute I was like, oh no, I think I actually want this cat, he was like,
awesome.
Oh, we're in. So the day after we got married, we picked her up.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? When I first met my wife, I've been married almost 35 years, and my wife was a cat person. And we had a bunch of cats, and it was great. We had, Periwinkle, which is all black cat, great cat, almost like a dog.
Yeah.
And, you know, then we didn't have pets for a number of years. We just didn't have any because we had kids.
Right.
We were all going crazy with the kids, having fun with them. So then all of a sudden now the kids are older.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking, okay, what's next? And so my daughter had 2 Shih Tzu puppies, right? And she had a litter. And I'm like, oh, let's go over and look at the puppies. I said, we don't have to take one. Let's just go look at them, right?
Yep.
So my wife's like, all right. Because my wife is not a dog person at all. She was never a dog. She got chased by a German Shepherd when she was younger.
Got it. Yep.
So it's like, she was like, had that trauma, you know?
Right.
So we sit there and we go in, we look at the puppies, and they're all little and tiny. And Bear, that's who we ended up picking. He has no tail, but he moves like a bear. He's got such a cute face.
Aww.
He's so sweet, right? He navigated to my wife and went right over to her and laid right on her. And she's like, this is the one.
Yep.
I go, we're taking a dog home? So I kind of tricked you into that a little bit, you know what I mean? But hey, listen, you know, you got to do that because I was a dog guy growing up.
Yeah.
And my wife was not. So there's that. Tell me about Walter. What kind of dog is he?
So Walter is an English cream golden retriever. So he's that like really light, almost white looking golden retriever.
Okay.
And so I grew up with dogs and I love dogs. And I always wanted one as an adult, but we were living in a teeny apartment on the 3rd floor and it just like wasn't going to be it. And then COVID happened. And finally in 2022, I was like, you know what? We're 2 years out from COVID. We're in a house now. It's time for a dog.
It's time.
And my husband never had a dog growing up. He was not interested in dogs at all. But it was always part of the deal. I was like, we can have cats. I'm fine with cats, but like, I need a dog.
I need a dog.
And so I put us on waiting lists. And we got Walter, and we had the first pick of the litter, and there were 5 dogs in that litter, and all 4 of the 5 dogs were playing together and they were so cute. And then there was one and he was just kind of doing his own thing and he was just staring at an ant and following an ant for like 10 minutes straight. And I was like, that's it.
That's our guy.
That's the one. That's the one. And
I love it.
He's always been like that, like weird dog. Like we always are just like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
He loves rocks. That's like his biggest thing. He won't chase a ball or a stick, but like big fan of rocks. We have a whole collection of rocks that he brings home, and he's the best.
So see, it's funny. So dogs are just like kids, right?
Yeah.
Oh, pets are like kids.
Yeah.
And you can have a good time with them no matter what. And especially if they like something like that.
Right.
Now you got them, they're captivated. You got a captivated audience. Like, here you go. Go get this. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit about education and future aspirations for yourself. So what are some of the key lessons you try to aim to sort of impart to future teachers in your courses at Salem State?
I think one of the biggest things is that like kids deserve teachers who love and care about them. And like that is the number one thing, and like everything else will follow.
No doubt.
But I think especially for like young educators, it's super intimidating. And so I try to remind them that like when your heart is in the right place, like everything else follows.
Yeah. It's good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? So that's a great footprint to leave on someone, right? And they're going to take that with them. Because my dad said to me when I was younger, he said, you know, sometimes a man or woman will meet their destiny on the road they took to avoid it. I was like, what are you talking about?
Makes sense.
Right? But as I got older, I realized what he meant, right? Everybody has their path to walk, and sometimes it'll be a little bit rocky, and if you get off this road, guess what? What's waiting for you on this road? The same problem. So you got to deal with it, right? It's supposed to be hard. That's what they say, right? You're supposed to have days where you really don't want to do it. You're supposed to like make these sacrifices, right? You're supposed to challenge yourself and push your limits always, right?
Yeah.
And that's the price that has to be paid. Most people don't really want to do that to separate themselves from the pack. And they don't want to be average. You want to be above average, right? So I say this, stop trying to avoid it, right? Because it's supposed to be hard. Stop searching for a shortcut. Most people try, right? They're looking for an easier path because really it doesn't exist, right? Sometimes you got to feel that doubt and you got to hear the excuses, right? And then what happens? You show up anyway. And then when you show up, the world doesn't care how you feel, but if you show up, guess what? That's half the battle, right? And all great things must be earned. That's what my parents always taught me. And so you learn to kind of fall in love with that work ethic, that challenge, right? The sacrifice and the discomfort. You learn all that stuff. And then you use it to your advantage when you have an opportunity to do that. And I think that's so important, especially imparting that to our kids at BHS as educators, right? Where do you see your career heading in the next 5 years? What are you thinking?
I think, doing a lot of what I'm doing right now in terms of, I love BHS and that's my home, and really just trying to support as many students as I can. And really, working, I feel like being a teacher is a lifelong thing that you're working on and getting better at every day. And so, as our kids are changing and as the world is changing, like I'm just going to be striving to change with them.
Nice. I love it. Absolutely love it. Any aspirations to do anything outside the classroom?
Like for a career or just in general?
Yeah, like maybe just switch gears. You got any hobbies or anything that you do that we don't know about?
I mean, I'm looking for hobbies right now because I'm just finishing up my CAGS program.
Okay.
And so a lot of my time right now has been like occupied on nights and weekends with doing schoolwork, like in addition to my teaching schedule.
Right.
So if anyone's got hobbies, I'm up for suggestions.
Not yet. The hobby is sleep, ladies and gentlemen. That's what she wants. That's the hobby. She wants to be able to just take a nap, relax a little bit.
Yeah. For sure.
I want to mention, ladies and gentlemen, if you like our content, please subscribe to YouTube and Spotify and where you get all your podcasting services. Advice for aspiring teachers. What advice would you give to someone considering a career in education at this particular time?
Teaching is hard. It is one of, I would say, I mean, I don't know this from any other experience besides being a teacher, but in my opinion, teaching is one of the hardest careers, but it's also the most rewarding.
Oh yes, by far.
And so if you love it, like it's worth the hard work, while at the same time making sure that you are taking care of yourself. Yes. And really avoiding that burnout.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be good with yourself in order to be good with everybody else, right? And so one of the things my parents taught me was, my dad said to me, when you get up in the morning, look in the mirror, who do you see looking back at you? And you see yourself. And he said, if you're in a good headspace with yourself, then you can be good with the world. You can go out in the world and shine your light. Yeah. Because now you're good with yourself and you have that balance, which I think is really important. Okay, a couple rapid fire questions. Okay. What's your favorite math concept and why?
So I think my favorite math class is Algebra 2. Like that is my bread and butter, but I really love all things quadratics. So quadratic formula, factoring. I think that there's a lot there that students start seeing some real world applications with physics, which can be really exciting.
You lost me at quadratics. That was it. I'm done there. Okay. Dream vacation. Which country is next on your travel bucket list?
Ooh, okay. So my bucket list is always evolving, but eventually, I would love to go to Antarctica and Patagonia and do a duo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Why there? What are you thinking?
I think they're both of those places are so different than anywhere else in the world. I really want to go.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
All right. So now, if your classroom had an anthem, what theme song would it be? What would it be?
Oh gosh. An anthem.
Maybe like Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh,
5,
love
6,
that.
7,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10,
Perfect.
11, 12.
Yeah, count it up.
That'll be the one.
Sure, that's the one.
Okay. Superpower wish. If you had any superpower to aid in teaching, what would it be?
Probably just unlimited energy. I think that's the number one thing I literally need all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we all need that.
Yeah.
Trust me, my day started at 5 a.m. this morning.
Oh, yeah.
That's another story.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Hidden talent. Do you have any hidden talents or hobbies that might surprise your students?
So students are always surprised when I tell them I was a music kid. So I went through the music department at VHS. I was a band kid. I was a chorus kid. So I got a little musical talent in me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
What instrument did you play?
I played the clarinet.
Clarinet. So I was not a drummer, but I was more of a trumpet guy.
Okay.
All right. But I was terrible. I couldn't get it. No, I really couldn't. I was awful. So then I became a DJ.
Why not? Yeah.
I'll play other people's
Still
music
musical.
instead.
Yeah.
I can't make my own music. I'll play other people's music. That's what I did. Question. This one I was thinking about.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with anyone.
Yeah.
dead or alive, doesn't matter, celebrity, non-celebrity.
Yeah.
Who would it be and why?
Oof. Okay. I think, so whenever I'm asked this question, I always ask like a counter question, which is like, is language a barrier?
No.
Okay.
Language is not a barrier.
If language is not a barrier, then it would be my grandfather
on
my dad's side.
Okay.
So he is from Greece. So my dad is from Greece.
All right.
And my grandfather, like never really learned English super well. And so, but he's got like a really interesting story of he was in the Navy and he was on like ships in Cuba.
Wow.
And then he immigrated to the US and he opened a restaurant. And so like, I feel like there were a lot of stories.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that
guy,
would be one.
huh?
Yeah.
So it's interesting you mentioned your grandfather, because I would love to sit down with my grandfather and have dinner. Now, my grandfather was funny because he was a fisherman, kind of migrated up to like Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And ended up in Massachusetts somehow.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that he took us on a fishing trip once, and I'll never forget this. Me and my older brother, and we're at a pond, and everybody's fishing, and they're doing their thing, and we're kids, and we're skipping rocks on the pond, right? Scaring all the fish away. So he goes, "Hey, come here. Let me talk to you. Let me take you to the car for a second." He takes us to the car. He pretends to tie us up and leave us in the car. He didn't really tie us up, but he was like making a point, like, you cannot do what you're doing. Stop skipping rocks.
Right.
It's not gonna work out for you, right? Or the fish, or us as fishermen. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the time we have for today. It's been such a wonderful conversation with math extraordinaire teacher at Beverly High School, Kayley Meyer. Please remember to find us in all your streaming services. We are able, or where are we on? Spotify, we're on Podbean, we're on a bunch of different things, Pod Addict, and don't forget to subscribe to YouTube as well. Thank you for hanging out with us, and I always leave you with this question, ladies and gentlemen. Who left a footprint on you? I'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.